Hey, my name is Katie Seeger and I teach kindergarten. And today I'm going to share with you why we should save the school garden. So this is what the garden has looked like throughout this school year. We have dead plants, plots that aren't even planted, anything. And then we have like the overgrown plots that people have not cared for properly. In my mind, this is what a successful school garden looks like. We have teachers outside with students working together to create a successful school garden and discussing the life cycle of the plant actively as it is happening. And then students are working together. They are doing the heavy lifting. They are planting gardens, working together, and having that teamwork and collaboration aspect. What I already know, I know that there's a school garden in a central location of our school and that it's not properly taken care of. And each grade level is responsible for their own plot. And grade levels, they have a lot of choice when it comes to what they plant. They can plant vegetables, they can do flowers. If they have a plant that grows better in the winter, they can do that, or the spring. There's a lot of freedom when it comes to what they can plant. But right now, there are weeds, dead plants, overgrown plants, and empty plots with dirt, and it doesn't look good and it's not taken care of the right way. So some grade levels have chosen not to plant. We know the life cycle of plants. We've recently studied that, and we know that plants need sunlight and water to grow. And we know that they could be growing some type of plant year round in our school garden. What I want to know what type of soil do plants and vegetables grow best in? What amount of sunlight do plants and vegetables need? And how can we hold grade levels accountable for their plots? How am I going to find out? I was thinking that we could invite the local gardener into our classroom from Leaf and Petal, which is a local shop, or from our farmers market. We could research using books and Chromebooks that we have access to. Or we could invite fifth graders who have been in this school from kindergarten all the way to fifth grade and have had experience planning and what advice they could give us because we are only kindergarten and this is our first year doing this. How will this benefit our school and create a successful school garden? It will help us learn real life skills, build an appreciation for the world and gardens and plants around us. It will encourage the school to work together. We can learn how food is grown, learn how to grow and harvest plants and vegetables, and help students develop a responsibility by caring for their garden. I hope to provide the school with a plan for the garden as well as gardening tips. Gardening tips may include specific plants that might be more successful in our school garden. So those are some ways that I want to create a successful school garden. And I think it's very important because the school will work together. Y'all have any questions for me?
Well, I love that. That is such a great idea, especially to get kids involved in their school and really take ownership of something that they're really proud of, not just in your class too, but in all the grade levels. So that's really awesome. It's a great idea. You kind of, touched on it, but like how, you guys implement this plan and then hopefully you have some success, and how would you plan on sharing that? Or even like maybe if you're in need of some seeds or some little shovels and tools, how do you plan on sharing this outside of your classroom?
So we have a school broadcast that is shared weekly, and we could create videos for that to be broadcasted out to the whole school. And even if we kind of did like a donation drive and had people bring in the shovels and things that we need, the students could write articles for our school newspaper and make posters to put around the school to let them know that, it's gardening season and it's time, or that we need these supplies and can you please bring them in?
It's a good idea. I like that.
I agree. I feel like it's a really great idea, and I like that you already have the garden at your school, so it's something that you're familiar with, and your kids are familiar with it. I guess I know this kind of seems like it kind of ties in a little bit, but what problems do you see like that might happen, and like how do you think that you might be able to deal with them, like if it doesn't go as planned?
So some problems that might occur is that grade levels could plant plants that don't grow or that they die or have too much sunlight. And I think that the growing the plant aspect is just kind of going to have to, trial and error to see kind of what works and what doesn't, even after we research. But for like every grade level planning, we can just hold each other accountable and just kind of meet before we even start this process and just say, this is what we're going to do, do your part, and just kind of make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Is there a way to like meet with the other grade level teachers regular, like other schools different? So is there a way for you guys to do that?
Yeah, we have on Mondays we have faculty meetings, so I could kind of share out during our faculty meeting at the beginning of the year, hey, this is something that is really important to me, and it's a problem at our school. It's time to make a change, make a difference, and let our school garden be successful.
Cool. I love that. I really like how it gets everybody involved.
Yeah, well, thank you all for your feedback.
All right. I will go ahead and share next. So let's get this up here first. All right, are you guys able to see me in the corner and my screen?
Good.
Okay. I am Kenleigh Ludlow. I teach 8th grade English language arts. We work a lot of times with our other classes as well, which is important to this project. So right now we're going to look at the water crisis and the problem. I am going to be referring to y'all as my students because that's how I kind of created this presentation. So kiddos, we just finished reading chapters 1 through 7 in A Long Walk to Water. And, let's look at some of the things that we already know. And that is that part of this story is set in modern day Africa. And one of the biggest challenges that our main character, Naya, is coming across is just having access to water, and with that too, clean water. So we know in her home village, Naya's traveling by foot for a total of 8 hours a day just to get water for her and her family to meet those basic needs. During the dry season, her family actually picks up and relocates to another village to have access to water, and it's days walks away. So this isn't something that's just nearby, and they're just doing this out of necessity for life. And one of the biggest issues that we know is that this water is really dirty and it causes illnesses unless it's boiled for a certain amount of time. But like we've looked at previously, whenever that boiling process occurs, much of the water is evaporating in that process. So there causes another problem as well. So what do we notice about water in general? Because like we've talked about, once upon a time, there were rivers and lakes full of water all around the world, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. We also know that water is one of the most basic needs of life. Everyone needs it. Everyone should have access to clean water, but that's not the case. And we have a huge water crisis in our world. Something that, we've talked about previously is that the crisis has so many different complex parts to it, and they all relate to one another, like drinking water, scarcity and food insecurity, declining ocean health, and climate change, just to name a few. We've talked about some others as well. Nearly 800 million people in the world live without clean water, and that just doesn't seem fair or right at all. So for you students, something to think about, with this unsafe water and lack of basic sanitation, we need to keep in mind that this is killing more people each year than all forms of violence combined, which is a lot of times what we hear about on the news. We're not hearing about the undirty, unsafe water. So let's keep that in mind as we try to create a solution for this world crisis problem, because working together, we can face it. We can be part of the solution, and kiddos, I have a mission for you. So, kiddos, like the question I posed to you, how does water scarcity and availability, along with dirty water, affect our community and other communities around the world? And how can we solve this problem? How are you going to find this out? Well, you're going to collaborate with your classmates to solve this problem through research. You're going to consult experts, and if necessary, you could even conduct some of your own experiments. The next step of this process would be after we complete this research and our findings, you will find a way to present it to the class, but we'll talk about that more next week. So kids, good luck. The world is counting on you. And that's
That was
it.
so good. I love the PAL tune. I hadn't seen that before.
Thanks.
Okay, so I really liked how you tied it into a book that y'all were reading. But what specific experts would you ask to help you solve the water crisis?
Yeah, that's a good question, especially because where we live is a lot different than our main character in our book. And some ideas that I have are even just like the town water village. We're a big farming community. So talking to farmers and local experts about how water, really impacts what they do for a living and what they need. They could also consult scientists, but a lot of that research will fall back on them on finding out different things through research with those interviews or conducting it online too.
Yeah, cool.
I really liked how you did like a set going into it, and then something that was super specific, and it kind of reminded me of like trying to think of the one my kids watched it all the time during our lunch, but their little retinal scan and all that, and it doing a mission and self-destructing. I think that they would be really interested in it. I think that's super cute. I guess my question would be, so when the students come up with their ideas, how are you going to get them to share? And is it just like within your class, or you can have them share out other ways?
Well, like the really cool thing about teaching like older kids is that they do have different platforms that they enjoy using. So kind of like what we're doing with the different pitch and things, I think it'd be really cool if they are able to share that with administrators in the building, even just to be like, hey, this is what we're doing. It means a lot to us. Or sharing it on social media in a safe way, like that is something that they have access to, and can even tag different local governments or different humanitarian organizations to share the information and their findings to try to help with this huge water crisis problem. So as long as that's done safely, and that's again something that we can monitor as teachers, I think that'd be really cool for them to use their voices and their platform in that way.
Why is this project important to you?
Well, I mean, water is just a basic need. And a lot of times it's something we don't think about. If we need water, we go to the fridge, like we get it out of the faucet, whatever. And as we're reading this book, it really opens up students' eyes to, wow, not everybody lives that way. And it's not even just across the world, but nearby too, people don't have just the access that they need. So opening their eyes to that, especially as eighth graders, they're getting older, they kind of can see the world in a little bit bigger and not so much about themselves, just really looking at, how can I give back? How can we figure this out? And something that I really like to do at the end is, all right, so eventually they don't know now at this point in the book, but they do find out that someone has made an organization called Water for South Sudan, and you can actually raise money to help build wells in places like South Sudan and over in Africa. So that's something that my students get really excited about after learning it throughout the novel and doing different things in science, that they can actually create fundraisers and do different projects to raise money for just making a difference in their world, just here like in our backyard doing something. So I think that's really cool.
Oh.
Okay, well, thank you for your feedback.
All right, I guess it's my turn. Okay. My computer is incredibly slow. Okay, so I did mine and geared more like towards my students. By the way, sorry, my name is Lori Bennett. I was a second grade teacher, and now I'm transitioning into a gifted position, and I will be with third graders. So hopefully this all works out. My computer is like ancient. So, all right. So I did making our school lunches great again. I noticed last year, my kids, we were a school that had received free breakfast and lunch for the past 9 years. So we're more of a low income school. We also have students bused in from other locations. And a lot of the parents took advantage of the free lunches, but a lot of the kids, regardless if hungry or not, they just did not want to eat them. They always talked about how gross they were and whatnot. And I just feel like they weren't able to do their very best on their work because they were essentially hangry. And so this is why we made this, or I made this, or whatever. All right, so here we go. Hope that'll work. Okay, let me move me so I can see. All right, so this is a project-based learning unit designed to give you, the students, the opportunity to take learning into your own hands. Have you ever heard someone say that they loved school lunches back in the day, or they lived for the school pizza every Friday? I know the lunches back then, we had a lot of different choices. Like we even had like the little club salads we could get. We had more choices. And my kids out where I was at, they got what they got and that was it. Like if they got a choice for their milk, they were excited. So, and whether they ate it or not, they were required to get it in order for the free lunch to count. So school lunches used to be something that we look forward to, students look forward to, but now not so much. Lunches have certain USDA guidelines that have to be met, but there has to be a way that we can make our school lunches amazing yet nutritional for students. This school lunch looks much better than the ones that they serve us. So. So even if today's school lunches are nutritious in nature, if the children are not eating them, are they actually serving their purpose? So according to the CDC, hunger due to insignificant, I can't even talk today. This is what happens when I get nervous. So insufficient, I can't even talk, Jesus. Food intake is associated with lower grades, higher rates of absenteeism. I seriously cannot talk. We're gonna have to like pause it. Repeating a grade and the inability to focus among students. So during this project, you will investigate the requirements for school lunches and then brainstorm ideas on how to make school lunches great again. I wanted to kind of leave it a little more open for my students so that they could kind of have some choices on how they wanted to tackle this. So there are many resources available to help the students in the investigation, such as iPads, books. They can talk to cafeteria workers, they can talk to parents, they can read the nutrition labels, and many more. The students have the choice of changing the guidelines completely. So figuring out what the guidelines are and who would they need to contact about changing them, or just reviving the current lunches using our current guidelines in place. Oh, I went too fast on it. So it's all in your hands. If you can think it, design it, dream it, it is possible. So time for the pitch. So once you've investigated and come up with the idea, you will then create a pitch that you will share with your classmates. To create your pitch, you will be using Canva. And again. But what is a pitch and what should it include? Because pitches are maybe very new to the students that I'm teaching next year. So your pitch should include a way to stimulate interest in what you believe we need to learn. You're going to share your vision. You're going to hook the audience with a short summary of what you plan to do. And then what are your next steps in order to implement your idea? And remember, stay positive, work hard, and make it happen.
I love the topic of your pitch. I think that school lunches, that is so important for kids to make sure they have nutritional values, and when they're full and have eaten, their academics will be better. So what is the food now in y'all's lunchroom?
It is very, like, they have to have a fruit and a vegetable, a milk, and a meat. And like their trays are very sparse, like what they put on them. And it's very minimum, like, and they limit like ketchup, like you can have like one little packet of ketchup. They limit everything. For a while, only 3rd through 5th grade was allowed to choose between white milk and chocolate milk. So it's just very like it minimum to meet the guidelines kind of thing.
Is that just for like financial reasons, do you think, or is there like just a lot more to it?
I really honestly don't know. The lunches used to be a little bit better when I very first started working there, and we were pretty much under the same guidelines. And then we've got different cafeteria workers the past couple of years. So it's really, really hard to say. I know that there was a couple of times where they couldn't get certain supplies that were originally on the menu. And so then they had to change it. So like, and I know we're going through food shortage and stuff like in real life too. And so, I mean, that could also be a possibility, but this has been going on for a couple of years, like a little bit longer than the whole epidemic thing. So it's really hard to say, but that would be like a really good thing for them, the students, to investigate as well. You know, is it a financial thing, or is this like a choice thing?
Right. And like, I really like how you put the ownership in their hands. Like, here's what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to find out. And I know you said they're going to pitch it to their classmates, but just thinking like grand scale, is there a possibility that they'll pitch it to others, like the people in charge, or that the administrators or whoever? I don't know. Is there a chance for that, as, you know, being little itty bitty kiddos?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that they do, because I know that, I mean, I've heard so much about, oh, I don't want to eat this, it's so gross. Like, why can't they do this? Why can't they do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't work in the cafeteria. And so I think that that's a really great idea. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm really hoping that some of them choose to like try to change the guidelines. That would be like super cool if they like really research, like, how do I do this? Who do I need to talk to? And of course, I would do everything in my power to make it happen, that they get to actually meet with or talk to or share their ideas with that person. So absolutely. I think that's,
I think that'd be a really cool idea if they could reach that platform of people making those decisions, and to hear it from the kids who actually eat it every day, because I doubt many teachers and administrators actually eat that school lunch every day, would be my guess.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what would be some of the benefits of having the nutritional lunches for the kids? Like, what would the difference throughout the day have on the kids?
So, I mean, like, technically the lunches now are nutritional, but you can still have nutritional lunches that kids will eat. I feel like the biggest thing is like making it nutritional and something that's appealing to children is the key. But that's like my opinion, I guess. And I feel like I've seen it so much in my own students, and when they are hungry, their brain is not operating on all cylinders. Like, it's just not. And so they get frustrated more easy. Like, I've seen behavior problems come up from it. I can only have so many snacks in my class to give out. And I've had some that they'll just be like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, like all throughout the day, because it's just not enough. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a calorie limit on the lunches right now as well. And so, and with little growing minds and little people, it kind of, that's probably not the best time to be limiting calories. So.
Well, I hope that your kids are able to share with
Yeah.
your administration and everybody to get them some better lunches.
Yeah, let us know what works because we could use that.
I know, like maybe we'd change it for other schools. It would be very nice.
Yes.
All right.
All right. So those were our group's pitches.
Thank you.